Episode 13, guys. Let's see what we have on the menu for today. We have our holiday wish list. You're just getting a Switch, and we're going to tell you what you should be getting with that Switch. Our best Christmas gaming memories. And has the Switch made you play some games that you normally wouldn't play? And last but not least, what is going on with Donkey Kong and the Donkey Kong Country franchise? Let's get it started. What is up, guys? Episode 13 of the Planet Nintendo podcast. I am your host, Patrick of NintenTalk. Let's introduce the best co-hosts on the planet. Bobby, the Nintendo Guru. What's up, man?
I am fantastic. I just gotta say this because if I don't say this, it's gonna know me. Stop hitting your desk or whatever you're doing over there. It's gonna pick up audio. The fans are gonna start writing to you, screaming at you and stuff. Every 2 seconds, you got this weird you're like this. Like a big goofy gorilla tapping the desk. Just calm down, take a deep breath. It's earlier in the morning than normal. I understand this. I am wonderful, man. How you doing?
Pretty good. And Joe, what's up, man?
Been doing pretty good, man. Been doing pretty good. Nice and early. Man, I'm surprised I even woke up on time. Considering I was up at least until 3:30 a.m. and 30 of those minutes might have been trying to beat that score in rescue mode for mud blocks.
You bastard. I woke up to that. I was like, no! I thought that was a concrete score.
Yes.
Nope.
Yes.
There's nothing concrete score in that game, man. Although in level 1-1 in the speed trial, I'm moving up the list. I'm at 39.66. So I'm basically the tops of all our friends. I just got 2 people ahead of me. And that's Jules and the guy that got 28 seconds or something like that. Well, among our friends, it's Jules and one other guy on my friends list. I don't know who he is, but but I'm ranked 11th worldwide, which is pretty awesome. I love that leaderboard thing, man. It's turning into this weird thing, man, where people are actually posting their screenshots and man, that was such a nice touch. I love it.
It really was. So before we get started, just wanted to announce a few things. So Wednesday is going to be the day that the full podcast goes up on my channel. Before I was doing it in segments, but I was getting kind of lazy with the channel, so I figured full version Wednesday. Also, a new segment that I'm going to be doing, it's going to be called Planet Nintendo Afterthoughts, and pretty much I'm going to expand on the podcast, maybe go over some things that we missed. So that's going to be kind of like a small video version on my channel.
What are you
so look forward
the Talking Dead?
The Planet Nintendo After Show. Yeah, it's going to be cool.
Talking Planet.
So guys,
just call it Talking Planet. It'll be good.
Oh man.
Yeah, I can do that. So end of the year, guys. What games are you playing? Any games in December you guys are looking forward to? Joe?
Oh man. I mean, right now, still going through Xenoblade Chronicles. Decided to make the wise decision to stream that. That's been fantastic. No, I've been having a lot of fun with that game. It's just you think you start to understand that system, and it just throws you another curveball and teaches you some more things that you're just oh, whoa, okay, this is another thing. It's like an MMO game where you're just going deeper and deeper and deeper into the gameplay mechanics of a game, and the story is just okay, it's getting better and better after the end of each chapter, which is great. I'm 20 hours in and halfway through chapter 3.
Jeez.
That, and I took some time away to play some Mutant Mudds. And The End Is Nigh. That's another one, which didn't realize was same guy that did that worked on Meat Boy and made.
He makes a lot of
yeah.
He makes a lot of. Well, Nicholas does all his games and puts them out, but he does it's not the same guy though, right? Like there's
It's
two guys. There's two guys
he's
working
from
on Super Meat Boy.
it's two guys on Super Meat Boy, but it's the guy that also did Binding of Isaac.
Yes, and
that's his game.
And he's totally separate.
Yes.
There's the one guy that's bald headed, and then the one guy that's married. And the guy that's married, typically he does a lot of offshoot stuff. And then but he's basically the artistic side of it, and the other guy's the programmer on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty cool.
Man, that game is it's got hints of Super Meat Boy, but it's its own thing. I love the intro. The intro is probably like the greatest thing.
Bobby, what about you, man? Any games you're looking forward to?
I'm just looking forward to being able to play. Like that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Like, this is just crazy, man. I haven't gone through a stretch like this where I just haven't been able to play a whole heck of a lot. Like I do want to get into some Lost Sphear. SteamWorld Heist is coming in a couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot wait for that. I am going to play that through again because it comes with everything, the DLC and all that. Like I love that game. That game was so good. I'm for myself. I've been playing a lot of Mutant Mudds. I've almost finished every stage on the main front on Mudds Deluxe, except for the was it 5-4? That's the one I haven't been able to beat yet.
Nice.
I went through. I was like, I was just getting frustrated. I was like, let me just go to Super Challenge and let me zip through the first couple of levels.
No.
Dude, I died 3 times, like within seconds, and I'm like, what the hell, Jules? Like, I can't even get through level 1-1. Like, it is so hard, man. It is.
That man needs to be arrested.
Dude, it is. Like, I'm like, you know what? I never beat the original. I never even beat Mudds Deluxe. I've gotten like, right now I'm further than I've ever gotten in the game.
Yeah, same here.
But I'm like,
and then you still have those ghost levels.
The ghost levels to do, and you also have the hidden levels within. So there's the Game Boy levels and the Virtual Console or the Virtual Boy levels. So you got to beat those as well. So it's a lot. It's been a lot.
Which
of
are
fun.
so cool, so awesome that those are in there.
Boys ones. They're really cool. The Virtual
So
Boys.
nice. I think we're at the same point.
Yeah, I've also been playing Xenoblade a little bit. Last night I jumped into Splatfest, and that's all I played yesterday was Splatfest with some breaks of Mutant Mudds within, just to kind of like cleanse my palate per se. And man, it's so good. Splatoon 2 just, I don't know how it got better. It just got better, man. Like the levels, the weapons, like it just feels better. Like you get in, you jump in, you start playing, and like, first off, I love the retro levels coming back. Man, skate park, like Black Belly Skate Park and Wally Warehouse, and dude, I am loving them levels again, man. It is so good. But it's just neat to kind of like, because I know them levels so well, it's kind of fun to take the noobs that are just jumping through the ringer. It's like
that new mode came out too, right?
Yeah, that just launched. I haven't played it yet. What is it, Clan Blitz? I haven't played it yet. Here's my thing. I've never felt truly confident to play, ranked play. But after yesterday, I'm starting to get my confidence level up. Like, because ranked play is totally different. Ranked play, you better be knowing how to kill people, or you're getting crushed. Like, you're not going to make much movement. And now I've finally got to the point where I'm pretty strong with the weapon, and I'm like, I just want to go a couple more days to make sure it wasn't a fluke. But to be able to do it as well as I was doing during a Splatfest. Because typically Splatfest, everything gets shut down except for the Splatfest.
Yep.
And if you can hold your own in a Splatfest, that typically means you're doing well. Because a lot of those guys that are strong players from ranked play come and play Splatfest. So there's always been that like really super aggressive, because you play Turf War, nobody really tries to kill each other so much. It's not that bad. Normally, those people were over in ranked play. But when you play a Splatfest, it became a more aggressive scene because those guys that I usually always call them killers. Those guys would come over and just attack. Like, and it was like, holy crap, man. So it feels good to kind of work through that all and be like, man, I'm able to hold my own. So I'm going to go try some ranked play maybe today and see how I can hold over there.
I kind of wish that they gave you like exclusive like items if you won. So like if Team Sweater won, they would get, I don't know, a sweater or something, and the other team wouldn't get that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It would
No,
just kind of add to it.
we've always said that, like, when me and Mark were doing the Ink Strike podcast, we used to always say that, like, it'd be kind of cool if, like, you kept your shirts, or or if they did something like they put a banner in the like, if you were on the winning team, they put a banner up in the plaza or something.
Yeah. Just something.
Like, just something to be like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like, that's what you did. You were able to accomplish, you know what I mean? But I don't know. It's Nintendo. What do you expect?
Yeah. I've been playing a lot of Mutant Mudds. Xenoblade, haven't really touched too much. Two games that I'm really looking at, though, is the reviews are in. Ukulele looks good.
Nope.
It actually, people are saying,
no,
get out of here,
No.
get out of here. They're actually saying it's like the definitive version, like it's performing
what's that?
best.
The definitive version of trash is still trash, man.
We got the N64 hater here. That's why.
Oh my
And
God.
also, Tales of Blossom. Be on the lookout for that. It's like a top-down Zelda game.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
Dude.
yeah. That looks good.
21st, I think it comes out. But those are the only two games I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah,
I was curious about Brawlout.
that's
Brawl-
another one, dude. That one looks pretty good too, man.
I wish that I know that there's some guys from like Guacamelee and shit.
Guacamelee
Stuff.
and what's the other one?
Hyper Light Drifter.
Hyper Light Drifter. Yeah, they might start
Dude,
bringing
I
other
kinda-
indies in there as they go on.
That's what I was saying, dude. Like,
Pretty cool,
maybe make a whole indie Smash and just like every indie character. Like,
Yeah.
I could see that becoming big.
That would be huge.
This game has online too, right? Has like a whole online thing.
I want to say yes,
Yeah,
but
I
I'm
didn't-
not
I-
sure.
Yeah, I didn't look much into it.
I would hope
Yeah.
so. A game like that.
It'd be awesome if it did.
Yeah.
It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so you just got a Switch for Christmas, and us three, we're gonna help you guys out. So I kind of wanted to go around and give some game recommendations, maybe like two games and two games off the eShop, and then maybe some other things like accessories, amiibo, stuff like that. So let's start with the games first. Joe, why don't you pick two games you must have if you're just getting a Switch?
Just getting a Switch. All right. So I think the consensus would be the same all around as far as like if we're starting the big titles first and not eShop stuff. I mean, I would say Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey would be you'd be crazy to not pick those up first.
Mhm.
I'd focus on those and then work your way out afterwards. Personally, for me, I would still say Breath of the Wild, but I would get weird with it and go Fire Emblem Warriors afterwards. Like that's still that's getting DLC this week. Its first pack of 3. So I loved that game. It was really good. And then the strategy, like I keep saying it on this show. it's definitely one of my favorite games so far this year in terms of like stuff that's been brought out by Nintendo.
Yep. Bobby, what about you?
For me, I feel like the number one is Zelda. You have to own Zelda. I think here's what it is. Obviously, it's Zelda and Mario, right? Those are the number. Those are 1, 2. But what I would say is, are you a Mario fan or are you a Zelda fan? And then I would say, whatever one you are, that's your number one game. Your number 2 game should be Splatoon 2. I feel like Splatoon 2 is really, really fun. It's different than a typical shooter. It's not the killer be killed scene. People aren't headhunting. It's more like you just paint the ground, man. And it's like it's like golf. It's you against the ground. That's all it is. And when you realize that, the game becomes a lot of fun. And it's like when you're not going after people to kill them, because I've always had that philosophy, like, you can kill me 10 times in a match. I don't care. I'm going to outscore you. I'm going to be the leader of the points. I'm going to score more points, and that's just the way it's going to be. And so it's a different style. But I feel like give yourself a single-player game and then also get yourself a multiplayer game. Get in there with the community, hang out with them, and have a good time.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, Splatoon 2 or Mario Kart, depending on like your play style. But yeah, I agree. Like Mario or Zelda. I mean, both is good too. But yeah,
but I mean, if
definitely
you're
a
only getting
multiplayer.
if you can only get 2 games, I mean, you could go Mario and Zelda and then be done with it. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I think one or the other. But for me, I just feel like Zelda is the game for this console.
Yeah.
Like you gotta have Zelda for this console, man.
Yeah. A lot of people are going to be getting eShop cards. So let's go over a couple games on the eShop that you would recommend. Mr. Nindy over there. Joe, what do you got for us, man?
Something a little more recent, might be a bit too much on the top-down shooter hardcore side, but Dimension Drive. That game has the mechanic, the way I'm going to explain it sounds simple, but when you actually play it, it's really difficult. So you're playing in split screen. You've got technically one ship, but you're shifting between both screens to dodge enemies, certain platforms to get across, but then you also have to shoot them as well. And power-ups are very simple. You do build up, you find these data cubes and whatnot throughout the course of each stage, and eventually you can use those data cubes to get certain power-ups. I think there's like 4 total or whatever, and there's a story behind it, and it's apparently based on a comic book as well. But it's really wild, and it gets real difficult real fast. I think that's more on the challenging side, but it's super fun. It'll Do Too is another one that's like we were talking about top-down Zelda-like games. That is up there for sure. Again, the story is what it is, but it's adorable as all hell, and it's just a really fun game to get lost into, especially if you're into the dungeon crawling aspect. It treads lightly in certain parts, and then you can get super hardcore with it if you want to. I can keep going on, but I don't want to take up more time. But I'll let Bobby talk about the Mutant Muds if that's the case.
No, I mean, I think at this point a lot of people play Mutant Muds, and if I'm playing, I'm kind of feeling like this. If Mutant Muds is definitely a game you should get at some point. I'm not going to deny that, but I feel like if you got a brand new shiny Switch for Christmas, like Josh Thomas was saying last year, like you kind of want new games. You want stuff you haven't experienced before. Mutant Mudds you can always go back to and play, and it's a great game. It really is. But for me, SteamWorld Dig 2 is a must-have. That game is so good. Probably hands down to me one of the best indie games of the year. Just Image of Form did an amazing job. You don't have to play the original to be able to play this one. I think it's a really, really good game, and I think everybody's going to enjoy it. The other game I would probably say is Golf Story. That game was a lot of fun. It was just a kickback golf RPG game, and it was like totally different and unique. And I had so much fun just playing that game. Like the art style was adorable, man. It was just kind of like that old style pixel art. RPG from back in the day, but it was weird because you would play and it's like you're playing golf and you're accomplishing golf shots, and it's like that's how you're getting your experience. Like you're not fighting and all that, and it's just they took a genre that was pretty straightforward and kind of flipped it on its ear and was like, no, we're gonna play this way now with it. It's kind of cool. I liked it.
Yeah, SteamWorld Dig, man. I think that actually won best eShop game, Nintendo Minute or something. They did something like that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a really good game. I think Rocket League is something that, I mean, it's an older game, but it's definitely like a great multiplayer experience. Mutant Muds, I mean, you get 3 games, and then the Mud Blocks has like 5 or 6 different modes. So that's, I mean, if you're looking for value there. Yeah, just Fast Racing RMX. I know you guys aren't really big on it, but that is
I heard they've been updating that though. Has it gotten any better? Because I have the game.
It's gotten some new maps and stuff. I don't know if it's like performance wise.
It's hard, man. It's a hard game.
Yeah.
It's so It's that old F-Zero style racing, and it's tough, man. Like you hit the walls, you slow way down, you blow up real easily, and it's
if you crash once, you're done. That's the race.
Yeah, it's tough.
Shout out.
And then kind of like some accessories, amiibos, etc. Joe, what do you got, man?
Oh man, on the amiibo front, I gotta say I barely used amiibos for any functionality on my Switch other than Breath of the Wild, but I do like the Guardian setup that came out last month. It's aside from they kind of destroyed Mifa's look, but everyone else looks great. And the other two would be Samus amiibos, just to have them in your collection. You can put them next to your Switch. That's about
You
it.
can use one as a shot glass, but that's about it.
Yeah. I would say probably my most used accessory are these armor guards that I got for my Joy-Cons. They work really well, especially if you're the type of player that plays with your Joy-Cons separate and just want to have something that's going to fit a little bit more nicely than just having the Joy-Con in your hand. It feels a little bit weird personally for me. I don't know if anyone else has this problem, but it just feels weird playing the Joy-Con on its own like this. So like having it in here with the actual wrist strap attached to it, it just feels nicer than putting it into the Joy-Con grips.
Yeah.
It's become my secondhand way of playing, aside from the now number one, which I can't believe I'm saying this, the Pro Controller, the Xenoblade one specifically.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, I feel like definite number one thing, Pro Controller. You got to have a Pro Controller. That's your number one accessory. I feel like there's really no other way to play, Switch with that. If they would upgrade the Joy-Cons and give me better analog sticks, then I would probably go to the Joy-Cons and be done with. They give me a D-pad and better. Like if they made Joy-Con Pros, like I would be all over those. Like just big, thick, There's something I love this controller so much, man. The buttons are massive. The D-pad is perfect on this this one. They've really upgraded the Xenoblade D-pad. And then I would say get yourself a case. You gotta have a case. Carrying a case is awesome.
Yeah. And if you don't get a case, the
Ooh.
backpack too.
You don't get the backpack. Get out of here.
No, backpack has been good, dude. Backpack's been great.
Not everybody lives in New York. Let's get reality here.
Dude, what? If you want to bring it with you, dude.
Not everybody's in high school. Not everybody's in New York. It's, but even like, I feel like the essentials are this, but I also feel like you need a memory card. So, like, you can pick them up pretty much on the cheap now. Like a 128 you can get for like $40, $50.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because I bought mine for like $80 when I first started. So
Yeah, I think number one should be SD card. Pro Controller made me a believer.
Yeah.
I was playing Zelda the first time and I'm like, oh, the grip's awesome, but I can't even. I mean, I could use the grip, but not like for like hardcore games. Other things that I use the play stand quite a bit. I know with mud blocks you can like switch your switch. It's pretty cool using the play stand. I always like the tabletop mode. I know a lot of people don't like it, and a case, and then they have that charging grip too that has like the game card storage inside. So there's some pretty cool ones. There's a lot of junk though. Don't get suckered in.
Be careful with that. Yeah. Can we just real quick, dude? How good is mud blocks?
Dude,
so good.
It's
I
addicting.
didn't think that game was going to be that good. Man. I mean, like I was like, oh, I want to try it, and Tony and I streamed it the first night. Neither of us knew what the hell we were doing, and I'm just like, oh, this is. I'm thinking in my head like, oh, Jules, why'd you put this game in here? And then all of a sudden it was like, click, and it just boom, like it was like, and then Jules was on NVC this week, and I was watching it. And I was listening to him talk, and he was like, he started explaining a little bit about mud blocks. I was like, oh, okay, I got you now. Like, and then boom, I jumped in. I was like, you keep the colors close to each other. You get the water, you just drop it, and it blows out the thing. Like, I'm like, oh man,
is that what that is?
What?
The what?
It's water
drop.
Water.
Yeah.
That was bothering me. I was like, what the hell am I dropping? They're not bombs.
They're water drops. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You're shooting water in the game.
You're shooting water in the game. Yeah, it makes sense. Okay.
Actually,
yes. It's wiping the mud out. Yeah.
I was looking up Bomb Monkey because it's kind of like a reskin of that.
Yeah.
and it was kind of cool. I kind of wish that he made like that you can like switch between the skins, but I get why it's mud blocks, but whatever.
It's
so that was cool.
Good, so good.
I got number 1 on that rescue, Pat. Come after me.
You
Come
little bastard. I owned rescue for about 4 hours, and then I had to post it.
I only had one. But you know what the problem is, Pat? I don't think anybody would have said anything. But here you are with, I'm the best in the world. Nobody
I was. For a few hours.
And you got people retweeting it like, oh, look at my boy Pat. He's number 1 in the world. And then all of a sudden Joe's like, okay, sir, I will teach you what gaming is all about.
I'm going to spend about 40 minutes right now before bed. And
he probably did it on his first try. He's like, why are you posting this shit? All right. So the best time of the year, guys, it's Christmas time, and I wanted to know some of your Christmas memories that go with gaming. I do have one, but I will start with Bobby this time.
Man, I got 2 stories, I guess. One is not a Nintendo story, but it's video game related, and that was I originally wanted an NES. And my parents wouldn't get me one because we had so many Atari 2600 cartridges. And I begged and begged and begged, and they wouldn't budge. They're like, it's not backwards compatible. We got all these games. Go play those games. I'm like, and then I presented the Atari 7800, which is the biggest piece of garbage in the world. They did not support it. They supported it for maybe a month, put no new games out on it. There was maybe like 15 new games. Anyway, so I begged for it, and me and my best friend at the time were screwing around, and my friend comes home, and he's like, hey, what's your dad have in the back of his truck? Because he had like a Blazer, Chevy Blazer. And I was like, he's got like tools and equipment. I'll show you. Come on. And we go back there. And because he's like, what, he's got Christmas presents? I'm like, nah, he ain't no presents back there. I went back there, and I go in the bags, and there's the Atari 7800. And like,
oh my God.
Like, oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. And like, I'm like, get out of the truck, get out of the truck, get out of the truck, because my dad was in the house sleeping. And I was like, get out of the truck, get out of the truck, get out of the truck. We get out of the truck. We run through the woods, right? And we go back in the woods, and we start hugging and high-fiving and stuff. Like, and I was like, and I'm like, now I gotta keep this facade up for a whole 2 months until Christmas.
Wow.
And then Christmas morning, I gotta act fake like I got it. But honestly, the best memory I have is my Super Nintendo. So I had asked for it for Christmas, and it was one of those situations, again, because it wasn't backwards compatible, my mom was like, no. And I said to my mom, I'm like, Mom, you know, I take care of my stuff. At this point, I'm like, I want to say I'm like 16 years old, maybe 17, and I'm like, come on, I take care of my stuff. This is ridiculous. Like, I will still play my NES. I will keep them both hooked up to my TV. She's like, you can't do that. I'm like, trust me, I know how to do it. They'll both be hooked up. I will be playing all the time. Please get it for me. So then she gets it for me. Surprisingly so. I freaked out. She got me SimCity and Super Mario World. And that weekend, my brother was going somewhere. He went away with like his girlfriend's family or something. And my mom's like, call your Uncle John, or call your cousin Johnny and see if he wants to come spend the night. He only lived down the street. And see if he wants to stay over for the weekend with you. And I'm like, okay. So I called him up. He came over and he spent the weekend with me. And dude, like the minute we woke up, because it happened to snow, so we couldn't go do anything outside. And from the minute we woke up to the minute we went to bed, we were just playing Super Mario World. And it was
awesome.
So much fun, dude. I was just like in my glory. So those are the days.
Oh,
Joe?
Man, I was trying to think, and I'm just like every Christmas growing up, I think I asked more for music CDs and like maybe a game or two. Nothing's clicking, but
prior. Joe got the consoles on launch day, and then it was just a matter of like, whatever.
But because my birthday's so close to Christmas, there's 2 instances where my 4th birthday, Sega Genesis with the Streets of Rage combo put inside, I was like freaking out as a kid. I was like, oh my God, I don't even know what this is. Don't play it. And
Your
oh
parents
my
hate
god.
you, anybody gets a Sega Genesis, they just...
Oh my god. Hey, listen, we my brother had the Nintendo. We talked about Double Dragon.
It's understandable why you're such a hateful person. I get it now.
Man, dude, I got so much hate in my heart, dude.
That Sonic lover over there.
That and Sonic the Hedgehog separately. I was just
Miserable
like,
life
oh
growing
my
up
god.
playing that
Those were
trash
memories.
Genesis.
What? Yo, Streets of Rage, come at me, bro.
I'll come back, don't worry. That's why you play all the eclectic games and stuff. That's why he's got like every game under the sun. He's like, it's bad, but it reminds me of the Genesis. It's so good.
On the scale of Super Nintendo to Genesis, what would you rate this game?
Yeah.
I'd rate it Master System.
Yeah.
That was definitely a big one. Like I still remember that to this day. Like I was at my grandmother's. We were in her older apartment, and we were in the living room. I got to open it up, and it was like that N64 kid that that was me on the nth degree. And then the second one, which I didn't expect at all, but remember when PlayStation, the first one, got a revision, and and they called it the PS1.
Yeah.
It was real tiny white, and it had the monitor attachment that you can buy separately. I had gotten one of those, and I wasn't expecting that at all. Like I was trying to save money to get one, and I ended up getting it for my birthday. But the game I got with it was Mortal Kombat Mythology, the Jax one. Remember that? There was a Jax Mortal Kombat really Mythology that like he went through. I was like, oh man,
your family just, man, they just did not like this child.
Surprised you didn't grow up as a murderer.
I know, man. What the hell? Suicide bomber over here.
I will say it was better than the Sub-Zero one. That if you survive that game, you either grew up to be a murderer.
I'd have been like, yo, I would have opened it up and been like, you could have got me some Final Fantasy, some Metal Gear Solid. Like,
I was like,
Crash
I was fine.
You give me this crap? Like, come on, man.
Like,
I walked over to the trash and like dropped it in there
to,
right away. Be like, I'm out. Like, take me to the store now.
Eventually, I found my love for Final Fantasy VIII and went back, played Final Fantasy VII and all that stuff because my stepsister already had one, so I got to play a lot of like her collection and everything, which is pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
But those are my two.
So, guys, we're going to go back to 2006. Little 13-year-old Pat.
Oh, boy.
Oh.
I wanted nothing more than the Nintendo Wii. The Wii came out, dude, and motion controls I thought was the coolest thing. And I was, like, looking up videos of, like, Wii Sports and making Miis and stuff. And I was like, Mom, I need this goddamn thing. And it came out, like, November 19th, I think was the release date. Not that I remember anything, but I was like, Mom, I need this thing. And if you guys remember, like, Wiis were, like, impossible to get back then. So it was, like, a week before Christmas. My mom sat me down, and she's like, I don't think I'm going to be able to get this for you. Like,
I hate that talk.
And I was like,
talk.
I was like a minute from backhanding her, but, it was whatever. It was whatever.
Oh, my God.
And
no.
So
Patrick was a spoiled child.
No.
He was like dropped to the ground, throw temper tantrums, and Mom was like, "Okay, Patrick, let's go."
Talk about me hate people.
So, like days before Christmas, my brother's girlfriend at the time, shout out to her, she called our house and she's like, "Can you get to Walmart in like 5 minutes?" I guess like some grandpa bought his grandkids like a Wii, and they were like, "We don't want it. Like, screw those kids." But I got the Wii out of that. I knew what I was getting for Christmas, but like 06, man, the Wii. And the funny thing is I only had Wii Sports for like the first 6 months. I was like totally fine with Wii Sports. Getting 300s in bowling.
Dude, I think all of us were into Wii bowling at that point. That whole Wii Sports package was so good. It had no reason being as good as it was. I think the biggest takeaway from that story is you were 13 in 2006. I'm still I was just starting college.
Jeez.
2006, what was I doing? I was getting my walker out and like, what the hell, man?
Bobby was signing up for Medicaid, and
I think I was actually 2006. I think I was just like probably just going out with Tony for the first time. And
12
then,
years ago.
Wow.
yeah, no, it was like a year or two later because we've been married for 10 years. So yeah, right around then. Yeah, right around then.
Oh.
Yeah. Holy
Jeez.
crap, dude!
Aw.
Baby
What the
Pat.
hell, baby Pat?
And then they had to go mess up Wii Sports on the Wii U and like pay to like rent it, and that's
I just
stupid.
bought him outright. Who paid to rent it?
No, I know, but there's just that
What I
option was
liked about that was you could buy each sport. Like I didn't buy boxing because I didn't like the boxing.
yeah.
Boxing was
Yeah.
the dumbest thing in the world. You just flail your arms around like an idiot. It's, like, but like the golf I bought, the baseball.
Yeah.
I think they packaged baseball and boxing together. So I did buy in boxing actually. But like the bowl, I bought the bowling and the golf right away.
hmm
Those two were great. Tennis, I don't even think I bought the tennis because it was good, but I just wasn't a fan of it. But I love the bowling. It was so good, man.
So yeah,
I hope they bring Wii Sports to the Switch. I'll be honest with you.
that'd be cool. Switch Sports.
I really would love Wii Sports Resorts because I love the archery in that and the basketball. The 3-point shooting contest was fun.
Yeah, those are really fun.
Yeah.
All right, so Joe, let's go with your topic, man.
Yeah, so I mean, we talked a lot of these games coming out, what we recommend and whatnot. I figured I'd spin off of that, and with as many games as come out on the Switch eShop over the last 9 months now, out of all these games that have been coming out, did you ever picture yourself playing half of these titles that have come out, if they were on other consoles? Because for me personally, that I sometimes would see some of these titles. I don't think I would glance over if I were turning on my PS4, and just because the PS4 is just like, that library is just so intimidating on its own itself that it's like, okay, I think I'm good not picking up this week and just focusing on this one game here, or not even really thinking about indie games on my PS4. That's what my Vita is for and all that stuff. Patrick.
Yeah, so I think all of the major Nintendo games that have come out, I would see myself playing all of them. Like the only one I was questioning was Rabbids, and that turned out to be the one that I didn't really like enjoy that much.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's mostly the indie games, mostly like the 8-bit, 16-bit. When I got my Switch, I was like, oh, I'm going to be playing all these new games and like new looking games. And then I'm playing like these games that look like they can be on like the SNES. But I think that the reason why I'm like gravitating towards them is the challenge is there, like the level of difficulty is there, which I think is missing in most modern games. Like Legend of Zelda is a great game. Mario's a great game, but I could have played it like one-handed. Like these games aren't that tough. Like all of the bosses in Odyssey were not that tough. But yeah, I think that indie games mostly like side-scrolling, like shooting games. Like I played those in the past, but I didn't think I would like revisit that genre. Also puzzle games, big like genre that I've never really explored before. But like Mud Blocks, Tumblestone, a bunch of them, Puyo Puyo Tetris. Like these are some of the genres that I've kind of missed out on. But the Switch being portably, you can play it in so many different ways that just makes sense for this system. So I think mostly indie games.
Nice.
For me, I feel like same as Patrick. Like all the Nintendo games, like obviously, yeah, I'm buying those. I'm playing those. I don't ever, but like Rocket League was one that like I had it on the PS4, but I just didn't really get into it when it was there. Like, I played it a few times. I was like, this is really good, but I didn't see myself playing that a lot. I put more time into it on the Switch than I have over on the PS4. Yeah. Skyrim is a game I never played. Never saw myself playing. Put a little bit of time into it, and Xenoblade Chronicles came out, and it kind of put it on the back burner for me. But that's a game I'm definitely going back to and playing. A lot of these indie games, too. A game like Rive, I never would have bought Rive. And it's just like, wow, this game is really, really good. Golf Story is a game that like I just find myself trying all these games now that I really didn't play before. And I think part of it is because with the Wii U, we got such a quality of indie game on the Wii U that like it's opened me up to indie games now. where I'm like, I'm gonna try this indie game. I'm gonna try this indie game, and I found my favorite studios where when they put a game out, I jump all over it, and it's different. It's a different feel, you know. So, it's interesting, definitely interesting. But I definitely do. I find myself playing stuff that I definitely don't know that I would have played in the past. And again, the Nintendo stuff, no brainer. I'm gonna play that all day long. Like they really didn't put anything out this year that I felt, other than ARMS. There wasn't anything that didn't really disappoint me. ARMS kind of disappointed me a little bit, just because I felt like, again, I don't know whether that was placement or if it was the game. I just didn't enjoy the game. You know, it was weird because when ARMS came out and they did the test punches, the first one I was like, oh, damn, sorry. The first one I was like, oh, I really like this, and then something happened as it started to go on. And it was just like I got less and less interested in it. And
let's be honest. You got beat down, dude.
Well, that's after the game came out. Yeah, that had nothing. That really had nothing. Like, it had a little bit to do. But here's the thing: I got beat down because people had like a week and a half of playing the game steady every day before I finally even put the thing into my Switch. I just had no desire to go play it. And then one night, Sean had a group of people together and was like, "Hey, let's play together." And I was like, "Okay." And I went in and I played, and I did. I got smoked. Like, I was getting crushed, and I was like, "Yeah, this game just isn't for me."
If you go on those servers now, it is like a whole nother level. Like, I can't even win.
That's what I mean. These guys, like, it's fighting games, and it's what happens is you get these guys that are just really, really good. I love the one thing I will say about ARMS is I love the way they do multiplayer, where everybody kind of goes into a room and they mix.
Yeah, the lobby system.
The lobby system is amazing. I wish they would do that with Splatoon.
I'm hoping they do that with like Smash too. Like that would be awesome.
Great. Yeah. Oh my god.
That and like I wouldn't even mind if they did that with Mario Kart. If they were like, here's like 40 people, and we're just gonna mix and match and throw you in different matches and stuff like. Be pretty awesome. It's a totally different style of like matchmaking. I like it a lot. I think they do a good job with it.
Joe, what about you, man?
Yeah, man. I'm the same way, and it's funny because my Steam library is probably where I started, like looking into like indie games and whatnot, and then it just from there it just kind of gets a little too intimidating, and you get these sales, and it just becomes a joke in terms of like the backlog that you build up so quickly with how cheap games end up becoming. With here, it's like, okay, I know I'm gonna buy these games that interest me. I'm gonna focus on these. And usually they're in bite size, which is kind of nice, like a couple hours at most that you're playing these games, which is nice. But there's some weird ones in there that I never thought I'd see myself playing. Bold Boy, Wonder Boy, Battle Chef Brigade. Like these are games that I would just be like, okay, cool concept, cool idea. Maybe I'll jump into it at some point. But I'm like, wow, I'm finding myself investing, the 2-3 hours that these games take. One of my favorite ones that got ported over, and just coming off the episode where we were talking about ports, Oxenfree. That was such a good game. I played that on PC when that came out. I love that game. It's more narrative driven than anything else. The puzzles are pretty easy to figure out, but it's so good, and I just can't get enough of that. I mean, even on my Wii U, didn't really dabble into, like, the Wii U became my virtual console at one point. Same thing with how my Vita became my PlayStation 1 emulator. And I was just playing all my PS1 games. It's my Resident Evil device, basically. So until, all those get ported over to
It's scary
Switch,
that you have that close to you.
Yeah.
What, this? Oh, yeah, it's I got both my Vitas here.
Come on, we've already been down this road. He doesn't like good consoles.
Damn, savage. I mean, if it makes you feel any better, I have 3 3DSs on here compared to the 2 Vitas that are on this desk. So
okay. You guys all have like 40 3DSs. I'm just like, jeez.
I still have my Samus one up there. I haven't even opened yet.
Oh, dang.
I opened it for an unboxing. I put it back in there, and it's done.
Oh, man.
Stardew is another game that I did not think I would be playing.
That's another one.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I think that was it. I had something there and it slipped my mind. So whatever. Video
All right,
games.
Mr. Bobby, why don't you start your topic?
So there's a rumor that Retro Studios, which did the Prime series and then followed it up with the Donkey Kong Country 2 games, Donkey Kong Country Returns and then Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. There's a rumor that they've basically gone off and they started to work on a new IP, completely separate from Nintendo stuff. So my question is we know that Prime is coming back, but where does this leave the Donkey Kong Country franchise? Do we feel like it's going to lay dormant for a long time, or is someone else getting it? So my question would be like, do you think it's being worked on? What studio do you think is possibly working on it? And then what happens to the series now? Like, where do you guys see this thing going, or what's happening with it? So I'll start with Patrick.
I hope it's being worked on, because honestly, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze was top 3 games for me for the Wii U. Just really how beautiful that game was. I've always been a fan of the Donkey Kong Country. I have a weird feeling that they're going back to 3D with Donkey Kong. I don't know why. There's nothing to back that up.
That was such a bad game.
The Collectathon, but I think
Donkey Kong by the guys that also worked on Ukulele. Just putting that out there.
Hey, Platonic, have at it, man.
Go. Go.
I think Donkey Kong's one of the most underused IPs that they have. I'm not really good with teams and stuff like that. I'm not really like familiar with all that, but I just hope that it's being made. Mm-hmm. But it would be nice to see kind of a change up in Donkey Kong a little bit. I think you got the first one on the Wii, which was balls hard. Tropical Freeze, which is not easy at all. I wouldn't be shocked if they're making another one, but I don't know. Maybe they go different with this next one.
Joe, where you at?
Yeah, I mean, you look at Donkey Kong's history and its roots is with Rare, a British company, and from there we went Western with Donkey Kong with Retro for a little bit there. I was thinking along the lines, maybe this goes back to a younger Nintendo development department, but maybe they are looking after, sourcing this out elsewhere to another, AA studio or something like that and get real crazy with it and rethink what Donkey Kong Country is. To me, honestly, I feel like that game doesn't need to change all that much. I think it's one of the few series that doesn't need this big Switch overhaul. We should have at least one platformer game that's sort of just like solid platforming, and that's kind of what Donkey Kong is outside of Mario. Yeah. I think you can get away with that. I think we've gone long enough now where you have your Odysseys, you have your ukuleles, we've had our big Zelda revision, and it would be kind of nice to just see something on that 2D level that still provides a big enough challenge, because that's really where Donkey Kong Country at least strides in. Oh, Kitty.
Out of here.
In that difficulty level and the collectathon sort of thing, the KONGs and 64 for whatever it was. I just hope they don't go back and try to make this a big old giant open world overhaul. Give me a Diddy Kong, a Diddy Kong quest. Screw everyone else. Just focus on Diddy Kong.
Diddy Kong Racing.
Yeah, and they did Donkey Kong dirty. I mean, you had New Donk City, and the only thing we got was an 8-bit Donkey Kong that you knocked out at the end of the stage.
I really thought Donkey Kong was going to show up.
Spoilers.
You got a Diddy Kong costume. That's about it.
Yeah.
For me, I feel like Retro did a really good job. I think, dare I say that Retro did a better job than Rare did with Donkey Kong.
Diddy's Conquest, though, man.
I just think, I don't know, man. I think that they really crushed it with the 2 games that they did. They were very hard. They were not easy platformers. But I feel like part of the problem is that Donkey Kong is not a good character when it comes to platforming. His style is very loosey-goosey in terms of, like, it's not perfect, spot on. Like Mario, when you stop, he stops.
Yeah.
Donkey Kong rolls a little bit more. Like he's real wobbly and stuff. So a lot of the times I always felt like I was dying more because it was just like the controls than I was with the actual thing. But Rare also fixed that. I felt Rare became more of a precision based game than the original Donkey Kong Country games. And when I say Donkey Kong, I don't mean 64, because that is just a horrendous game all across the board.
It's okay. It's like Rocky 5. We pretend it doesn't exist.
Exactly. Like I feel like with Donkey Kong Country, I'm talking about the original ones on the SNES, and then I'm comparing those ones. So Retro did an amazing job. So what I feel is and what I would like to hopefully see happen is such a horrible game. What I would love to see happen is I would love to see Retro kind of working on 2 games at a time, but I don't know how big their studio is. I don't know how many people are on it, because they basically do these big, huge AAA games. I would rather Donkey Kong Country stay with Retro and just be like, okay, we're giving you the new IP, got it, done, now go back to Donkey Kong. Get done Donkey Kong, okay, go back and do, I think the problem with Donkey Kong Country and what happened was you got it on the Wii, then they put it out on the 3DS, which they ported over the Wii version of it, and then they were like, oh, by the way, here you go, we're going to throw it now on the Wii U. And I think there wasn't that big gap in time between the two. I feel like they do that a lot of times. I feel like what happens is, because by the time you got done Donkey Kong Country Returns, I feel like that's when Retro really started to turn it on. Like, they got it. So they basically were like, hey, Nintendo, we're not done. Like, we got these mechanics nailed. Let us do another game. And that's why they just moved right on. And it just continued. And it was kind of a quick turnaround between the games. I just feel like they did such a good job that franchise should just stay with them. And then maybe what you do is you just go, you know what? We're going to bulk your team up a little bit. We're going to give you some more money, bring in some more people, and just go with it. If Retro's not doing it, I would almost like to see like EAD kind of splinter off and give, them a crack at it to see what the Mario team can do with Donkey Kong Country. But I dare I say I would hate to see this franchise disappear for a while. Like, it was a long drought of the Donkey Kong from, the Super Nintendo straight up until we got it again on the Wii. It was a long time.
I think that something like the Super Mario 3D World or 3D Land, like if Donkey Kong was put into that, I think that would work a little bit. Yeah. It's kind of like not 3D but not 2D.
That like isometric type view where it's like a top down at an angle and going through platforms that way.
I think that'd work. It's going to be interesting to see if like anything is being worked on soon, because you have Yoshi and Kirby that are both the 2D games. So it'd kind of be weird to put it out.
Yeah, but they're totally different studios too.
Yeah.
Totally different studios. But
completely different difficulties.
Platforming, though, hey man, I wouldn't have a problem if Donkey Kong Country went away until 2019, 2020. Like, seriously, like that's okay to pack it away and do it. Like, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. Like, I feel like give it time. Let it kind of make yourself miss it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't miss the franchise right now. It's not like I'm like, man, where's the Donkey Kong Country at? Like, I need, like, there's just so much stuff we're inundated with. Yeah. Like, that's where if I was Nintendo, I'd just be like, hey, you know what? We're going to do a Donkey Kong Country Deluxe, which we're going to give you Returns and Tropical Freeze on the Switch probably this year. You know what I mean? Because I feel like after this year, the ports need to stop. Like, after year 2, go away with that stuff. So I can see them doing, like, hey, here's an HD remaster of Returns. Here's Tropical Freeze. Go at it. Have fun with that. And then in a couple of years, you get your Switch version.
You don't want to see the bongos come back, or what?
Donkey Konga, man.
No, I'll pass on that nonsense.
Such a ridiculous game. Oh my god.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, I mean, when you mentioned like Donkey Kong Country Returns and all that, we're also talking about like the height of like Nintendo spewing out platformer on platformer on platformer with, you know, all those Mario games that we got to. And granted, all those Mario games were good, but in that short amount of time, I feel like all of us got burnt out on them. So it's like,
yeah,
it's kind of nice to have this little bit of a break. And we brought this up a few episodes ago. Platformers, like, you can only do so much, so it's like you need a break in between these games.
Dude, the music in Tropical Freeze is mind-blowing. And dude, those levels, my favorite levels are the silhouette levels. Those things were so cool. It wasn't even funny, man. They were just aesthetically pleasing. And then, like, the one in Africa, and then the fire, like, level, like, the level catches on fire, like, man, they just killed it with that game.
That's my favorite platformer. Way better than Rayman. Super Mario U, like, it's at the top.
No, it's better. It's way better than Super Mario Brothers U. Definitely better than that one. This game was the game, man. It was so hard too, so hard. Yeah. But it was good.
That's Donkey Kong in a nutshell, man. Yeah. You make you want to throw your controller around.
That's for sure.
All right, y'all. Well, that is episode 13. We have one more episode before year's end. Episode 14 next week. Thank you so much, guys. If you want any topics covered, tweet us. You know where to find us. Our tweet handles are below us. Go follow Planet Nintendo. And before we sign off, why don't you guys sign off? Joe, where can they find you, man?
At Joe After Work, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch. Almost there.
You can find me over at Nintendo Gurus on Instagram and over on Twitter. And then the YouTube channel is youtube.com/Nintendo Guru. I almost said something else. I don't know what the hell I was thinking.
It's okay. It's only 8:30.
Yeah, it's not early yet.
All right. And you know where to find me. Instagram, Twitter, this channel right here. Thank you so much, guys, for listening. And we will see you next week.
Deuces.
Deuces. Oh, man. My buddy used to say that.